Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of 1 Minute Breakdowns, where we break down the upcoming UFC card in a minute or less per fight. At least we try to, anywhere from a minute to 2 minutes. And this card, for a lack of better words, is one of the weaker pay-per-views of the year, in my opinion, probably the weakest. The prelims themselves, if you look at the lineup, is not the most appetizing to mixed martial arts fans, at least to what we're used to seeing on pay-per-view events. But nonetheless, it's another weekend of fights. There's no complaints from my end. At least we get some action this weekend. So if you guys haven't already, please leave a like, comment your predictions on each fight, and subscribe to the channel. It does help us out a lot and helps the algo a lot. I appreciate the support that you guys have been showing time in and time out. And I'll go ahead and I'll link my Bet MMA tips in the bio. I know I haven't done that in the past, but I'm going to leave that in the bio for whoever wants my bets this week and moving forward. But yeah, a shout out to the chat. Shout out to Kristen for showing up early. Appreciate you, Kristen, always showing up and supporting. Donnie, there are complaints, and I'm just gonna keep them to myself just for this for this card, because I know we get spoiled from time to time with a fight card that is great from open to close. But this week we might have to give a little bit of a sacrifice. It's The prelims are more of like a UFC fight night kind of card, but nonetheless, we have the headliner Israel Adesanya going up against the ever so polarizing Sean Strickland. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and hop right into these breakdowns, shall we? First fight of the night, we have Kevin Jousset going up against Kiefer Crosby. Kevin is going to be the younger fighter by 3 years. He's going to be the taller fighter by 3 inches, and will have the 5-inch reach advantage here. Kevin is a city kickboxing guy fighting out of the gym with Adesanya, Dan Hooker, and all them boys. And we have Kiefer Crosby from Ireland training out of SBG Ireland. So, yeah, let's go ahead and break this one down. For me, I would be interested in the Crosby number, but I don't really trust his chin. I think he probably gets himself killed here at a decent rate. Just the way that he chooses to fight and the way that he brings pace and volume, it's great, but it'll last him a good 5 to 7.5 minutes, in my opinion. And after that, I think Jose can take over and really pour it on here and probably get a finish, probably late second round or early third round for Jose. I just think Jose has enough power. I think he's a better striker in this matchup, and then overall cardio game is a little bit better from the Jose side. But nothing for me on this one. It's too risky of a matchup and too coin flippy, in my opinion. So I'm laying off. Should be an entertaining opener, though. Next up, we have Shane Young going up against Gabriel Miranda. Shane Young is going to be the younger fighter by 3 years. He is going to be the shorter fighter by 3 inches and will have a 1.5-inch reach advantage. Shane Young fighting out of City Kickboxing as well, and Gabriel Miranda fighting out of Miami from MMA Masters with Themba Gorimbo. In this matchup, I mean, obviously we saw the huge weight miss on the Young side, 3.5 pounds, completely botched it. Almost 4 pounds. Like the guy did not really look the best. He looked like he was gasping for air on that scale, which is a very concerning side. I know a lot of people felt very passionate about the Young side earlier on in the week, and this could prove to be an issue when it comes to his cardio in the fight. I do think Young is the cleaner striker for sure, but where Miranda holds the advantages is the physicality and overall the grappling and wrestling here. I think Miranda sub 1, sub 2 are probably his paths here in this fight. Otherwise, I think Shane Young just kickboxes his way into a decision. So Young decision, not too bad. I would have considered betting it myself if it weren't for the weight miss. The conditioning looked very off. So I'm staying off myself and just going to watch for entertainment here. But Gabriel Miranda is always an exciting fighter here, and I'm really excited to see what he does tomorrow in that cage, because if he gets the grappling going, I think he has a very decent shot at winning this fight. Let's check out the chat before we move on to the next one. My guy Solar Warden, thank you for showing up. I appreciate you. And no, I'm not changing my name. I already did that once, and I think it's going pretty well. You were doing too much. Wiz is doing too much. And Donnie, Kara and Cap would have been cool to see. You know what? That was one of my favorite fights on the card initially before Kai Kara had to pull out. It's unfortunate, but I'm sure they'll find a way to rebook that matchup in the future at some point because, especially after that press conference, we know there's a very heated debate between the two of them. But next up, we have Blood Diamond Mike Mateta going up against Charles Radke making his UFC debut. Yeah, this is a fight. I'll say that. And Charles Radke is a minus 330 favorite. Blood Diamond's going to be the older fighter by 2 years. He's going to be the taller fighter by 2 inches and will have a 4-inch reach advantage in this matchup. Both guys here really don't do too much too well. Radke does have some grappling advantages in this fight. Maybe the subline is all right. Blood Diamond does give up his back at a decent clip, and I do see a point in the fight where he could find that sub. On the feet, I think it's fairly close with giving the edge slightly to Blood Diamond. I think he can keep the distance just a little bit here, but when he gets pressured against the cage, he just drops his hand and he shells up, which is not something you want to see. But at the same rate, you're looking at the betting line here, and you see that Radke is a minus 300, minus 350 favorite. And it's not the most inspiring thing in the world, given a guy that's making his UFC debut and has not shown the best on the regional side, crushing some cans in his own right. Yeah, if anything, maybe Radke inside the distance sub, but probably not a line that I will get to myself. Not even a valuable parlay piece, in my opinion. So this is a pass, but I do think Radke gets this done by sub at some point in this fight. Mike Mateta is just constantly disappointed throughout his UFC career. Shout out to my guy Lou Betcha in the house. If you guys haven't already, please go ahead and give Lou a follow on Twitter. Subscribe to the MMA Engine on YouTube. He's my co-host and a really good friend, one of the best in the community. Co-host for the NFL Bell, which we just actually recorded our first episode this past Wednesday for week 1 coming up. So give him a follow. Shout out to Lou. I appreciate you, my brother. Thank you for stopping by. Next up, we have Nazrat Hakparas going up against Landon Quinones. Nazrat Hakparas is a year older. He will be the taller fighter by 1 inch, and both fighters have a 72-inch reach, so they're equal there. Nazrat fighting out of TriStar Gym, and then Killcliff and the Goat Shed for Landon Quinones. We know the Goat Shed bringing out and breeding all of these young killers like Francisco Prado. Man, they have quite a team over there. Yep, young up and comers. Yeah, I mean, in this fight, obviously anywhere this fight goes, I think Nazrat has the advantage here. And the one issue I have with Nazrat is that he is not a fighter that likes to separate himself in fights. He does tend to fight down or fight up to his competition, which is good when he is the nail, but when he is the hammer, then you really don't have a fighter on your hands that you're able to lay this much juice on. Minus 400, minus 350 on Nazrat Hakparas. I know it's Landon Quinones, but Landon Quinones does bring some power dynamic to the table, and his striking isn't half bad. But man, Nazrat Hakparas is just not the guy to put in a parlay, because I know you're going to be sweating just watching this fight. He's going to get tagged up a little bit. He's been dropped before. I know it's not like to the competition level of Landon Quinones, with all due respect, but he's still out here getting dropped. And yeah, I do think Nazrat wins by decision is my prediction here. Maybe a late finish, but most likely a decision. And when it goes to a decision at minus 475, at least that's what Tapology is saying, I am good. I would rather pass. The over 1.5, as Rusty Singh in the chat, is also a good look. So yeah, Nazrat in this one, but overall a pass for me. Yes, we are winning all the monies this weekend with the one bet that I have so far on this card, but NFL, we have multiple. I appreciate you, Rusty, for joining. Thank you so much. Next up, we have Australia's own Jamie Malarkey going up against John Makdessi. Jamie Malarkey is going to be the younger fighter by 9 years. He'll be the taller fighter by that is 5 inches. Sorry, math is hard. And he'll have a 6 inch reach advantage in this fight, training out of Magnus Martial Arts and then TriStar Gym for John McDessie. I've never been high on Jamie Malarkey myself. I know a lot of people like this guy because he has decent striking and can wrestle and can pick up good control time minutes on the ground. But do you really want to lay chalk on a guy that really fights close to his competition and gets tagged up like crazy? This guy does not have striking defense whatsoever. And John McDessie, I mean, while he is older and it is later on in his career, he has proven to be able to strike with the best of them, and he can hold his own on the feet. So as long as this is on the feet, I think McDessie is very um, what's the word I'm looking for here? He can find a finish on the feet, is what I'm trying to say, because we've seen Malarkey get dropped multiple times, and it's just his performance as a heavy favorite has not been the best in the UFC. He's a good hammer, not really. No, what am I trying to say here? Point of the story: Jamie Malarkey is not one to trust at this price because his striking defense is horrible. That's what I took away from this. But overall, pass for me. I do think that Malarkey gets this done through the wrestling, but if he keeps this on the feet with his IQ, I think he's going to get knocked out. Next up, we have Jack Jenkins going up against Chepe Mariscal. Jack Jenkins is going to be the younger fighter here by 5 months. So both fighters 30 years old. Both fighters are 5'7", and Jack Jenkins will have the shorter reach by 1 inch, fighting out of Absolute MMA and Conditioning and then Elevation Fight Team for Chepe Mariscal. Before I get into this one, let me see the chat because we do see. New subscriber after I saw you with Mike. Very impressive. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I try to do as much as I can when it comes to the analysis, and I try to provide as much as I see through the tape with these breakdowns in a short fashion, which is why it's a 1 minute breakdowns. 1 to 2 minute breakdowns is what I'm supposed to be renaming this show to. But I appreciate you stopping by, man. Thank you so much. What scares me with this fight is that McDessie is at fight ready. I think he's at fight ready, not for the offensive wrestling. I think he's trying to prepare for the defensive wrestling of just because he's expecting Malarkey to shoot on him. But it would really surprise me if McDessie gets a takedown. I'm not gonna lie. But all right, on to Jack Jenkins and Chepe Mariscal. I think Jenkins just has a little bit too much of a process for Mariscal. Mariscal is a fighter that thrives in an environment similar to his last fight against Trevor Peek, where it's an out-and-out war on the feet. Yeah, people talk about this guy's grappling and wrestling, but showing off that wrestling against Trevor Peek, with all due respect, Peek is someone who does not have the best takedown defense and uses brute athleticism to stay upward. And the cardio of Mariscal is a concern for me. I know it was a war against Peek and they're just duking it out, but Jenkins has that process with his leg kicks, and he stopped people with those leg kicks multiple times. And on the feet, I think he's the cleaner striker. I know Mariscal can probably push him up against the cage, maybe land a takedown, win some minutes, but I do think Jenkins can find the wrestling himself too. The longer this fight goes, I think Jenkins is a bigger and bigger favorite. Just because you kind of have to favor the cardio of Jenkins, and you have to favor that these leg kicks are affecting Mariscal at a certain point. It doesn't really check kicks all that well, which is a concern against a guy like Jenkins. So ultimately, I lean Jack Jenkins in this fight. Solid lean. Next up, we have Carlos Ulberg going up against Daun Jung. Carlos Ulberg is the older fighter by 3 years. Both fighters stand at 6 foot tall, 6'4", and Carlos Ulberg is going to be the fighter with the shorter reach by 1.5 inches. Carlos Ulberg is fighting out of City Kickboxing as well, and Daun Jung out of Korean Top Team. My guy Mushroom, what is up? Excited to break down these fights, and thank you for showing up. I appreciate you for the support. Yeah, Ulberg, man, the Calvin Klein model has really made his way through the UFC here, and he's a pretty decent fighter after all. I think the price still feels a little bit wide here. It's a little bit insulting to the Jung side here because I mean Jung has been in this division for quite some time, and yeah, he has the question marks with his chin and overall the wrestling. He doesn't really go to it all that much, which is what I would prefer in a guy that I want to fade Olberg with. But as long as it's on the feet, I think Olberg is the more processed striker. I think he sets up his shots a little bit better and has more power than Down Jung. I like the straight shots from Olberg, and overall, the leg kicks are also pretty great. So for me, I just think this is Olberg through and through, probably inside the distance. But if Jung can mix in the wrestling and find some success there, I wouldn't be surprised to see him win this fight. But I do think that Olberg actually gets the finish here, probably inside 2 rounds. Next up, we have the main event pretty much. Tyson Pedro going up against the pleasure man, Anton Turkle. Tyson Pedro is the older fighter here by 4 years. He will be the shorter fighter by 1 inch, and he will have the 1 inch reach advantage here. Fighting out of Lions High Performance Center for Tyson Pedro and GBG MMA for Anton, the pleasure man. Initially, this full transparency here. Initially, pre-tape, I fired on Anton Turkle at plus 100. But since then, I've went ahead and I've hedged out of this bet. I think the line is pretty accurate where it's at right now at a coin flip, pretty much. Here's the thing. I think round 1, Tyson Pedro wins this at a high clip. He will probably be the fighter that lands the majority of the significant strikes in round 1. The question is, how does his cardio hold up after round 1? Last time out, he had not going to say an excuse, but he was dealing with some sickness, quote unquote, diarrhea and whatnot. I'm not trying to paint a picture, but here's the thing. If this fight goes past the round, and if he gasses out, I think Turkle will take over with his grappling and his wrestling, and he'll ultimately find the sub. Now, Tyson Pedro is a black belt in his own right, and can probably find a sub of his own in round 1. If he does get taken down, he can get a sub off his back. But the thing with Turkle is that he blocks punches with his face. He eats them, though. He has really good durability, and against Ibo Aslan, the guy that just won the Contender Series in round 1, was throwing bombs. You look at his tape, he fought Anton Turkle. Turkle ate every single bomb for 2 rounds. And then in the second round, towards the end of the round, he took him down and submitted him after he gassed out. So this guy proves to have the chin, but for how long? Because eating these kind of punches that are clean from these type of heavy hitters is not going to be something that's good for your career long term. So ultimately, I do predict that Tyson Pedro wins this fight, but I think the price is accurate and there's no real value on it. Down Jung's cardio is not the greatest in my opinion. We'll probably stop him from wrestling. Yeah, I do see that, but if he really wants to win this fight, he's going to have to wrestle. Yeah, I do tend to agree with that. Round 1, round 2. Don't vote for Pedro. I think Turkle. I mean, I'm not going to say he's one of the worst fighters on the roster. Come on, there's a lot worse that are on this card. But Turkle's skill set with the wrestling and grappling approach is unique, and his nickname is top tier, the Pleasure Man. Next up, we have Justin Tafa going up against Austin Lane. And before we break this one down, if you guys haven't already, please leave a like on this video, and I would really appreciate it. Thank you for the constant engagement in the chat. I appreciate that as well. I'm looking forward to seeing your takes on these next upcoming fights. So what we have Justin Tafa going up against Austin Lane. Justin Tafa is going to be the younger fighter by 6 years. He will be the shorter fighter by 6 inches and will have a 6-inch reach disadvantage. I think this fight's very easy to break down. Both of these guys are just heavy hitters that are going to come in and swing. This is a rematch. The first time out, the fight got stopped in the first round from an eye poke. And yeah, I think Tafa's out here for blood. And Tafa round 1 KO is all you can bet in this spot, or a lane decision. But in my opinion, I think Tafa is probably the justified favorite in this spot, but I can't lay the number on him. I'd rather just take the round 1 KO number at plus 145. But yeah, very easy for this one. Not too much to break down. Next up, we have Manel Kape going up against Felipe dos Santos. Felipe dos Santos making his debut after he was supposed to make his UFC debut on the Contender Series, but his opponent pulled out. Manel Kape is the shorter fighter here by 2 inches. He'll be at a 2-inch reach disadvantage. He'll be the older fighter by 7 years. Manel Kape training out of Extreme Couture in Las Vegas. And Felipe dos Santos, obviously, you see the blonde hair. He's training out of Shoot the Bucks, Diego Lima, with Charles Oliveira and all the mythical creatures that they have over there in that camp. All of the steroids. Yeah, I mean, I think this is very straightforward. I think Manel Kape gets this done inside the distance. I think this guy Dos Santos has some heart for taking this fight on short notice against Manel Kape, a guy who's probably a fight away from fighting for the belt. But yeah, Manel Kape probably gets this done by knockout. Probably going to be round 1. And the only other way I could target this fight is the sub. But I don't really see the sub happening unless Felipe is the one that's going for takedowns. So yeah, give me Manel Kape inside the distance. But that's minus 200 anyway, so womp womp. Let's see the chat. Yeah, I mean, Austin Lane was previously a American pro football player and still really honing in on his MMA skills in this game. Does leave his chin open, which is something that Tafa is going to expose. I do agree with this, but he does put on the pressure. I think the size might give him some issue, though. 6 inches of height and 6 inches of reach. It's going to be tough. Kape definitely won the press conference, man. You saw that? He made Izzy sit down through the bottle at Kaikara, France, and then he said he's going to kill his opponent. He was like, I'm going to kill this guy. This guy's going to get killed because of you. Like, that was funny. Top tier entertainment. Co-main event, we have Tai Tuivasa going up against Alexander Volkov. Tai Tuivasa is going to be the shorter fighter by 5 inches. He'll be at a 5-inch reach disadvantage as well. He's also the younger fighter by 4 years, training out of Lions High Performance Center, and Alexander Volkov training out of Straya team. Yeah, outside of a round 1 KO for Tuivasa, it's very hard for me to see him win this matchup. I think Volkov has him covered here, and I think the range is going to be a little bit too much. Volkov presents a similar threat to Cyril Gane with those front kicks to the body, and I think he could steal a page out of Cyril Gane's book here by using those front kicks to take off the gas from Tai Tuivasa early on. And once the time arises, he'll probably find that knockout blow. I think Volkov also has some takedown upside in this fight. So overall, I think he's a justified favorite, and I think he could probably be a bigger favorite in my opinion. So yeah, give me Volkov in this one. And last but not least, we have the champ, Israel Adesanya, going up against Sean Strickland, the ever so polarizing Sean Strickland. Israel Adesanya is going to be the older fighter by 2 years, the taller fighter by 3 inches, and the fighter with the longer reach by 4 inches, fighting out of City Kickboxing, and Sean Strickland fighting out of Extreme Couture, listed at Team Quest on Topology, but he fights out of Extreme for the most part. Yeah, I mean, no surprises here. I think Adesanya wins this one. Sean Strickland does not check leg kicks. And I think within the first 2 rounds, his leg's going to get beat up. He's probably going to be limping. And Izzy will probably find a way to finish this fight late, whether it's round 3, 4, 5. I know some books have those props. And I know some of the guys have already been on that. So I do like the Adesanya around 3, 4, 5. The only real way I think Strickland can win some minutes here would probably be if he tries to take Izzy down and he's successful at it. But we've seen Sean, when he has to take people down, he really just doesn't. And that's just a bad it's a testament to his IQ at points. He can really pump out the jab, but his striking defense is subpar. And through and through, I just think Adesanya is a justified favorite, big favorite at this price. So give me Adesanya. I think he wins handedly here. Do you think the Volkov fight hits round 2? You know what? I mean, it's hard to say just because, I mean, Volkov, at points his finishing instincts is not the most inspiring, but also at times he comes out here and kills people. He starches people. So yeah, I I do see a way where it does hit round two, but I also see a way where it does not at all. So I would be wary of that. KO decision by minus 300. Yeah, I do think that's a good parlay piece. I don't think he's gonna sub Sean Strickland. That would be a big surprise though. So if you do that, I would hedge. But yeah, guys, that is the end of the show. If you do have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. But if not, I'll go ahead and I'll end this stream. If you haven't noticed already, been growing this little thing out. We're out here. But yeah, I appreciate you all for the support and for the activity in the comment section. It means a lot, and good amount of live viewers. Usually we do this 3 hours later, but I have a couple of things later on tonight, so I won't be able to do it around that time. But my guy Mushroom, thank you so much for showing up. I really appreciate you being here. Much love, my guy. And for everyone that showed up, Rusty, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And I hope you all kill the card tomorrow. Let's make some money, and then just keep a lookout on Twitter. I'll have my NFL bets for Sunday ready as well tomorrow night. Until then, I'll see y'all next week. Peace.